Hello there, and thanks for joining me again at my tying bench. And today I'm going to tie you up a fly. It's just a simple little searching nymph pattern, and it's an easy tie. It's one of those flies that's easy to tie, but it's productive. It makes a great little dry dropper nymph, fishing it under a dry, or just fishing it as you normally would any other nymph. It's called the halfback, and I got out of my one favorite book once again, Flies the Best 1000. It's another pattern I got out of there, and it's not a lot to it, and I'll explain the materials as I go. So I'll get this guy the vise here, and we'll get started. Okay, the hook I'm using is a Mustad 9672 in a size 12. You can tie this guy. In the book it says anywhere from an 8 to a 14. So you can go down to one size smaller than this to a 14, but I'm going to tie it on a 12 here for the video. And for thread it calls for olive, and I'm using some olive Danville 6/0. So before I get started here, it's also a weighted nymph, and I'm going to put some 0.15 lead wire on here, probably 12 to 15 wraps I'd say. So I'll get those on. Alrighty. Okay, so I'll come in and pull that end off and come around and get this guy, snip it off. Alright, we'll squeeze those wraps together here, and I want those to be in about the middle of the shank there. Alrighty, so next I'm going to start my thread in front here first, just holding the lead in place with my finger there and jump on top. Then we'll come down to the back. Forward once again, I'll snip the tag end the thread off while I'm there. Now we'll come forward here and just build a little thread dam in front, and work back, and another little thread dam behind the lid here, just like so. Alright, and we'll wrap back to just about in front of the barb there, just a little bit in front of the barb. Okay, and the tail is simple. It's just some brown hackle fibers, and I got a hen hackle here, a softer hackle. You could use rooster hackle if you don't have hen. And I'm just going to peel off a medium-sized bunch here for the tail. Try to keep the tips even. If they're not perfect, I don't think it matters too much. It's just going to be a fishing fly. So, and I want the tail to be about half the length of the shank, so I'll measure that up. Tie it on top with a pinch loop. Okay, just like so. Come down around, wrap back a couple wraps, and then forward. Alright, there's our tail, and I'm just going to jump on top of the lead here and tie down the rest of those fibers. Just like so, and wrap back to almost to the tail. Alright, so the next step is the body, and it's one of my favorite materials to use on trout flies, as we know, is peacock herl. And I have 4 strands of herl here that I stripped off a peacock eye, and I'm just going to snip the brittle ends off, the tips there, and I'm going to tie those in on my side here, right back to in front of the tail. And I'll stop there, just like so, then come forward a little once again. And I'm going to make a dubbing loop here, because I always make a rope with the herl. It makes it a much more durable body. So I've got my loop done here. Wrap it back to meet the herl. And we're going to go all the way forward to where we started our thread, the top point. Okay, so next just grab the herl and the loop together. Sort of work that herl in between the loop the best you can there. And we're going to spin that all together, so I'll grab on the end with a set of hackle pliers. Okay, I'll give that a good turn there. Give it a few spins to get it started. And before I wrap, I'm going to take a little bit of super glue. I'll just use Zap-A-Gap or whatever you have. You can use, even head cement, just for a little bit more durability, and put a little coat on the top of the shank. Alright, so next I'm going to make a half hitch knot there. Bring my bobbin cradle around, rest my bobbin there, and I'm going to wrap the body with the rotary function. Okay, so we're going to begin to wrap our body. And as you wrap, you want to make sure that your rope stays tight. So usually after 2 or 3 wraps on the body, you want to spin the rope a little more with the hackle pliers just to keep it tight. So I'm going to spin it again a few times, wrap forward again, and then I'll spin it once again here. Okay, and wrap it forward again, and a couple more wraps. So do it up here for this guy, and we'll come down around, and I'll tie him off. That's fine right there. So move that bobbin cradle out of the way, and we'll tie off our herl. So we'll come behind it with a wrap, then in front, behind once again, then a couple more in front, wrapping back to lock it in place. Snip off the excess nice and close. Okay, and there we have a nice full herl body on there. Next, it has a throat, which is the same as the tail, some more brown hackle fibers. So whatever you use for your tail, just use the same for the throat. I'm going to just pull off some more off my hen hackle here. And I like to use just a tad bit more than the tail, or about the same, doesn't really matter. Just want a good, half decent little throat on the fly. And you only want those fibers to come back to about the hook point or halfway on the body. Come underneath with a pinch wrap, lock them in place. Just like so. Okay. And I'm going to come in, snip them off here. Okay, just making sure that's on there straight. That looks fine. Tie those down with some good snug wraps there. Alright, so there's the throat. So I'm just going to flip them up around. It's a very simple fly to tie. Just basic steps here. Now the wing is some calls for brown mallard, but I don't have any brown mallard, so I'm just going to use some of this woodduck. And I think it would also, you could use just plain mallard flank if that's all you had. I think it would work as well. So I'm just taking the tip of a feather here, as you can see, and I'm just going to fold those fibers together, roll them in my fingers, trim the end off there, just so you get a bunch like so, and tie it about halfway back on the body, hence the name half back. And we'll tie those down just with a nice pinch loop and tight wraps to hold them in place. Come in and snip off your excess there. I move my thread to behind the eye and then wrap back over those butt ends and just form a little head on them. And that's all there is to it, folks. Pretty simple little searching nymph. So we'll just do our whip finish on them here. Okay, I'll get 4 or 5 turns on them here. There we go. There we go. It's a finished fly. Now you just either cut or snip your thread like so. Now, what I like to do, you can use head cement, of course, lacquer, whichever you have, but I like to use solar as bone dry on my wet flies, especially, and streamer fly heads. It's quick and easy, and it gives them a nice glossy head and makes them durable as well. Okay, so I'm going to come in and zap that bone dry, cure them up. And it only takes a few seconds. And there he is, another size 12 halfback searching nymph. It's another one of those easy flies to tie. And I thought you might like to see this one put together, and you can tie a few up yourself and throw them in your box and give them a whirl. Pretty simple fly to tie. So, like I always say, I want to thank you so much for watching. And if you like, hit that subscribe button there, and if you want to see more videos, and throw in a like as well. And also any comments, put them down below. I always read them. And I want to thank you for watching once again, and happy tying out there, and hope to see you all again soon. So long for now, folks.